This is the first official shot, all done in Blender. If you want to check out the whole short, there's a link in the description below. All right, here we go. My first shot of the film. This was not the first shot I made. I worked my way up to this because it's rather complicated, but here we go. Let's start with the star field. I made a particle system. Here are my settings for the particle system. There are plenty of tutorials out there on how to make a particle system that looks like stars, so I'm not going to bore you with it. And in fact, if I was going to have to make another one again, I would have to go find a tutorial to watch. So just Google particle field stars, and you'll probably find a great tutorial on how to make one. So as the shot develops, it tilts down just like all Star Wars films. And I'm going to pause it here to show you I have a planet. It's a procedural planet that I downloaded. There's multiple parts to it. There's the atmosphere, there's the clouds, and there is the surface. The surface is basically taken from image textures. I don't think it's Earth. Could be, but I can't remember. But it's something I found for free online by Googling Blender, free planet download. The next thing I downloaded would have been these moons. There are multiple moons. This is a procedural moon, and as you can see, it's got plenty of handles to do whatever you want with it. I messed around with this a lot, making them different colors and textures, and in the end, it was super complicated, and I decided to basically use the same moon multiple times, same settings, and then I just rotated the moon so we're looking at different sides of it, so it didn't look exactly the same, because I got lazy. And that's it for the moons. I also added a lens flare light, because who doesn't love a good lens flare? The next thing I added are the X-Wings that are going to drop out of light speed here in a moment. And if you look at this timeline, one of the things I'm going to admit is I had a hard problem with scale. Working with something so large, it's kind of difficult because it's space, it's infinite. So I wound up doing some cheats. I'm going to jump here. You can see my X-Wings here. They're way off in the distance. You can't see them because they're so small. And then in one frame, I pop them to a larger scale. So they go from scale of 0.026, which is basically nothing, to a scale of 0.5. Now, later as I go through my tutorial, I will point out all the ways I messed up scale in this project and how it bit me in the butt. But you live and learn. So on my projects I work on now, I am sort of very militant about getting the scale of objects right. So anyway, so they, in one frame, pop to a larger scale, and then they quickly, in a number of frames, fly into frame. Now, as the shot develops, you'll see it starts to spin around. I got out of it way before that because it was wasted time. I did not need this dolly shot around to show more of the planet and the sides of the plane. That's one of the things I also learned is often I spent way too much time rendering shots for too much time that I wound up cutting out. I did it in this project, and I'll wind up doing it in my next project as well. So if you don't want to spend a lot of time wasting time rendering things, I highly suggest doing storyboards, prevising, and possibly doing a paper edit of your project to see how it works. I'm probably going to do that for my next project, but I'm also probably going to screw it up as well. And so that's my first shot. I will show you a new shot each week and how I put it together. And I will also show you how I messed it up and how I continue to mess things up and continue to learn. So if you're struggling and you want to watch somebody else struggle to make yourself feel better, this is the place for you. Next week, I'll take you inside the X-Wings and show you how I modified the interior. I'll see you then.